Gold is not more valuable. The dollar is a lot less valuable. And so you need a lot more dollars to buy that same ounce of gold.
Yeah, and we're talking about, obviously, these huge moments within the global economy. Would you characterize the current's move into gold as a long-term shift rather than just a temporary flight to safety? How long is this going to last?
No, it is a long-term shift, and it's been going on for a long time. Yeah. How do you think we got up to 3,200 and change? So no, but gold is going much, much higher. I used to think, back in 2009, 10, 11, back when they started QE, I was thinking gold would go to like 5,000, when gold was like 1,000, and it didn't get there. But now that it's 2025 and we've created so much more money and so much more debt than we had back then, I mean, 5,000 is nothing at this point. That's just a pit stop on the road to much, much higher prices because we have to, catch up to all the inflation that we've created. So, now you're looking, gold could be, 20,000 or more. I don't know. But a lot of it isn't gold going up. It's the dollar going down. When the United States, was first started in 1789, you only needed $20 to buy an ounce of gold. And about 130 years later, when we established the Federal Reserve in 1913, you still only needed $20 to buy an ounce of gold. So the dollar and gold were very stable up until the creation of the Federal Reserve. Now, that didn't change until 1933 with Roosevelt and the Great Depression, and he devalued. And now you needed $35 to buy an ounce of gold. But that was the same until 1971, $35. And then we went off the gold standard completely. And now gold goes from $35 to over $3,000. So gold has gone up more than 100x, but gold hasn't changed. It's the US dollar that has lost more than 99% of its purchasing power. Yeah. When the dollar was backed by gold, it didn't lose any of its purchasing power. It was only when we went to a fiat system that the purchasing power was destroyed. So when I'm talking about $20,000 gold is not more valuable. The dollar is a lot less valuable. And so you need a lot more dollars to buy that same ounce of gold.
Yeah. And Peter, if you see the dollar no longer acting as a reserve currency here, what will it be?
Gold. We don't need a reserve currency. Yeah. We just need a reserve. Money needs to back up currency. So all these foreign countries are going to use gold because that's what they used before the dollar. Remember, in Bretton Woods, we got the world to use the dollar as the reserve instead of gold. They were using gold. But the reason we got them to use the dollar is that we said, hey, the dollar's as good as gold. It's backed by gold. You can have your gold whenever you want. So just back your currency with dollars. And in the meantime, you can buy our Treasury bonds and you'll get interest because you don't get any interest on gold. So it seemed like a good deal. Have your cake and eat it too. Yeah. Own gold, but get interest. But then, of course, we screwed them because we defaulted, right? Hey, we're not going to give you any gold. You screwed up. You trusted us. But so the world's just going to go back to a gold standard. That's what's happening. And they may have other currencies in reserve, but the primary reserve asset has got to be gold. Yeah. And that's why there's so much more gold that central banks need to buy.
So this is good now because now that I got you, I mean, I got to ask your opinion on these developments and on gold repatriation. I mean, there's speculation that Germany may look to withdraw more of its gold reserves from the U.S., citing concerns over this Trump's tariff policy. Germany has already repatriated significant amounts from the New York Fed in recent years, and now there's more voices when its ruling party calling for further action. What are you hearing on this front, and could it encourage other nations to follow suit?
Yeah, I think everybody is going to want to own their own gold, to have it within their own borders, to keep it secure, because if you have gold stored in the U.S., what's to stop the U.S. from just sanctioning you and taking your gold, right? So it's not really yours if, you let the U.S. government control it. So I think most countries, if they have gold stored here, they're going to want to repatriate it to make sure that they've got it.